What's good, everybody? RJ Sheldon here, off the top show. Another episode of the BD Boys. Got my boy James Muenchow, aka Jimmer. Man, we got a lot of things to discuss here. Obviously, if you've just joined in for the first time, we talk about our good old Wisconsin sports teams here. We are both from Wisconsin, both from the same town in Beaver Dam,
BD represent.
Wisconsin. Absolutely. And we talk about, obviously, our sports teams. We got the Green Bay Packers, we got the Milwaukee Bucks, and the good old Milwaukee Brewers. But obviously, we all know what happened this past weekend. Came up short against, obviously, the San Francisco 49ers, 24-21. Realistically, should have won that game, if you want my honest opinion. Opportunities were completely missed, and we're going to dive into that thoroughly because, obviously, we have our insider here in James that handles that for me, and obviously I give my 2 cents. But let's just go over stats here real quick for, obviously, the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, 21 of 34 from the field, 194 yards throwing, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Can't throw interceptions in big games like this. You know, there were so many things that went down, but come down to it, you're the one that touches the ball every play, and you got to make the right decisions, right? But this is a learning curve for him, and we're going to get deep into that more, but I'm just going to go over these stats so you can go ahead and talk about what's been on your mind ever since we've been talking since this past weekend about this. Aaron Jones, very effective, 18 carries for 108 yards, and then Romeo Doubs doing the same thing he's been doing since obviously the wild card game and making plays with 4 receptions and 83 yards. Go ahead and talk to me about this, James, in regards of – I know, right? Go ahead and talk to me about this, Jimmy, bro, just of – I know I only talked about offense because I tend to just like to talk about the offense. But just talk about this as just a broad, good, bad, and indifferent. And obviously, I'm going to chime in.
Good as in the defense. Surprisingly, defense was good enough to win. I don't know if there's really anything else to be said, except for that the drive when they went down and scored. I had a lot of problems with that. Brock Purdy was not throwing the ball down the field. It was rainy. He was off. Jordan Love was off. It was not a day to throw the ball down the field with some urgency. And what did Green Bay do? They let him play underneath and complete some really high percentage throws just to walk down the field. That's the only problem I had with it. I think your defense played good enough to win that game. Offense, not so good. Aaron Jones, good. Offensive line, good. Jordan Love, not so good. And I think that was the worst part about it.
Right.
0 for 3 in the red zone. Can't do it. You can't do that. You're not going to win any. Oh. You're not going to win any games 0 for 3 in the red zone. So missed opportunities is basically what it came down to. And then the Carlson field goal. If Carlson makes that field goal, it's a totally different ball game. It should have been. They needed a touchdown anyway. So I don't. Again, defense on the last drive. Just don't understand it. But again, missed opportunities. What have we said time in and time out for the past 5 years with Packers in the playoffs? You can basically go under the microscope and look at 5-10 plays that happen in the game that determine the outcome of the game. And unfortunately, it was a Jordan Love interception.
Yep.
Which both of those interceptions were his fault. The first one, obviously the second one is
no,
one
it's
thing.
No, it's on both him, bro. Let me go ahead and say about it. It's on him. As a quarterback, you don't need to throw a high heater, hit him in the stomach, and let's move the ball.
I thought it was, and then the first one, he just missed his throw, and then it was behind Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft tried to put a hand on it or something, and it bounced right.
That's the one I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the one where he went like back shoulder. Yeah, the one Tucker Kraft.
First one. Yep, first one was totally Jordan Love's fault, and the second one was obviously Jordan Love's fault. So turnovers, you didn't win the turnover battle, and then you weren't good in the red zone, and then you had a blunder on special teams. That's basically where it came down to. So, but we could talk about all that.
Right.
And it was rainy, really bad weather. So that's where when I saw it was raining, I'm like, Green Bay has a chance. And I think it's going to be a good chance because we've seen some really good teams in bad weather go up against some average teams or teams that are lesser than them. And it's ball game. Weather's the greatest equalizer out there for an average team or a bad team to get a good team. And Green Bay is not an average or bad team. They are above average team. They're very young. So I think that rain helped a lot too and then Deebo Samuel going out. Like there's a lot of things that went the Packers' way, and then they didn't do anything to help them win this game either. So they had the game. Like honestly, the better team lost, and LaFleur said that, and I fully believe it. They were the better team out there that day, and they lost it. So it's very unfortunate. Like as I said, if we would have gotten blown out 48-20, something like that, I'd be like, you
Right.
know what, we're young. 49ers really good. It happens, but that was not the case. That was Green
At
Bay's
all.
game to win. And you know what? They were going to be going to Detroit for round number 3. Obviously now we know because Detroit won. Oh my goodness! You want to talk about that is one of the closest since Carolina or since Chicago and Green Bay played in 2011. I don't know if there's been a closer NFC Championship game. So,
Right.
um, yep. So they were there, and it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. So, but very happy, just very happy with the season. You were in the position to win an NFC Championship game, and this was a rebuild year. So, one of the tweets I saw from person I listened to, one of the guy I follow, has said, "Pissed off now, very happy later." And we
Absolutely.
were all mad. We were all very mad. Like I was, I mean, you saw, I was texting you. I was very upset because that was a chance to win that game, and that's something we've
Right.
seen before with this Green Bay Packer team, not only with Aaron Rodgers, but now with Jordan Love. Every now and again, they don't know how to finish. But again, couldn't be more happy with where the Packers are right now. You got to be excited, and that's where it is. And then the news dropped today. That makes
Yep.
me
Joe
even more
Barry
excited.
gone. I know. I was gonna
Goodbye.
say I have that lit up right here on my side of Joe Barry is gone. That is such a huge,
He's not
huge
gone.
move by
He's
the front
staying on the
office.
staff,
Like
but he's staying on the
he's
staff.
not gonna be. I don't
He's
want
not
him to
going to be
play
calling the
call for the.
shots.
No,
Nope. Nope.
no.
Bye bye.
Keep him. Bye, please. No.
I think he's been he has been very well praised. I know people like don't like him. Like don't get me wrong. Okay, as a defensive coordinator, you may not like him, but there's been a couple NFL players. I think Darius Leonard is one of them that say Joe Barry helped me a ton because he's a linebackers coach originally. So I kind of assume Joe Barry might take over the linebackers for Green Bay Packers. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's just my hunch. He might be the new linebackers coach, which if he can coach linebackers, man, just get him in there. He's
Right.
still not the guy calling the plays. So he's going to stay on, and I don't know what incapacity. I just find it very interesting because that was everybody's main question after the game. Because obviously you talk about the game, and then the reporters want to know what's next. Like where do you go to next? Matt LaFleur came out and said, "We're going to take a lot of time. I'm going to take my time with staff decisions and personnel decisions. We're going to take our time on this." That's not even a week ago, and he already fired Joe Barry. So my opinion, Joe Barry's nail in the coffin was Tampa Bay.
Yep.
I mean, actually, I think it was Tampa Bay because they went through that stretch, or New York, Tampa Bay, Carolina. I think it was in Tampa Bay, and then if it wasn't in Tampa Bay, the last bang of the hammer with that nail was Carolina. You gave up 30
hundred
points to an offense that
percent.
didn't score a point for the last 2 remaining games. So, which is, in all fairness to Joe Barry, which I'm not very fair to him at all. He had that rough 3-game stretch, and then he comes out against Minnesota, pitches a really good game. Comes out against Chicago, really good game. Comes out against Dallas and pitched an immaculate game until it didn't matter, which it didn't
Right.
matter. Who cares? And then he came out against San Francisco and didn't pitch an immaculate game, but he was good enough to win. So, but that's the struggle we've been with Joe Barry's defenses. It's one week, it's really, really good. And then you think they're on track, and then the next week they go play New York Giants, and it's problems that we've been seeing for the past how many years. So,
Right.
So now the question is, who do you go get? And I think that's just too early to. I can't even tell you. Like I can
Yeah,
tell
it's
you
way too
who I
early
would
right
like,
now.
but
We talked about a couple guys on here.
we
I know we
yeah
were
we've
talking
talked
about
about it.
it's here and there though.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think Green Bay's got to go make a splash. I think you have to because your Super Bowl window is now. Like you have Jordan
Absolutely.
Love, Aaron Jones is
Hmm.
probably coming back. You got all these young wide receivers that you don't have to pay for another 3 to 4 years. So your window's now. You got David Bakhtiari's coming off the books next year because I don't anticipate him being a Green Bay Packer. And you got Aaron Rodgers, 40 million cap hit coming off the books. You got money. I mean, not that that money correlates to coaching, but you got some money and your window is now. You're gonna have to pay the quarterback next year. Like he's gonna get an extension. He's probably gonna get top five money. It's
Right.
just how it is. I don't know how they're gonna work it. I mean, who knows? Maybe Jordan Love's gonna be nice, but I don't see that happening because I mean
Hmm.
he's top five and he's probably a top five quarterback. If not, he's top 10. He's gonna get 30+ million a year at least.
Right.
So and they just paid Rashawn Gary. So you got to be smart about it too. You can't just start throwing money around. But the core is there, and you need to tweak some things. And I think the defensive coordinator was one of those tweaks. But if you want Green Bay to make a splash, you got to wait until probably after the Super Bowl, obviously, because if you
Right.
have guys high up there, they're probably getting head coaching interviews, and you
Absolutely.
got to wait until that whole because this head coaching process for the NFL right now is very interesting. And you
It's
have
gonna
some
be
guys who are,
crazy
yeah,
to see it, bro.
yeah, because I mean, you already have a head coach in New England, which I thought was baffling. Like that, I thought that was baffling. I thought they were gonna go get like a Mike Vrabel or make a splash themselves. No, they just got this guy, John Hale. I was like, oh, okay, well, there goes that. It sounds like Belichick's going to A Town. Sounds like Harbaugh is going to go to the Chargers. And
Yep.
then that leaves Mike Vrabel for the Seattle job, which, I mean, you replace Pete Carroll with Mike Vrabel, it could be the same thing, but you never know.
Right.
Seattle's been interviewing a bunch of different OCs and DCs around the league.
Hmm.
You, there's a lot of moving parts. So if you're going to interview somebody for the DC, you're probably going to have to wait because I mean, you could interview some guys that are not in head coaching conversations, but if you want a big splash, those guys are probably getting head coaching interviews, which, hey, you're going to make a lot more money as a head coach than a defensive coach, and that's when you get your shot and you could have an opportunity. So I don't blame that, but I think it's going to be a longer process. So, um, and this is a very important hire for Matt LaFleur. I don't know if it's just going to be Matt LaFleur's call. I don't know if it's going to be a combination of Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, who's the team president, and Matt LaFleur. I don't know. But this is a very pivotal hire because when Matt LaFleur got hired, he inherited Mike Pettin. Mike Pettin, he gave him a year. All's fair. Like he gave him a year to maybe prove himself. It didn't work out. He was about 15, 17th in the league. He said Pettin's contract expired. I'm sure both parties were like agreed upon it. And then he hired Joe Barry, which is very, very controversial because again, he was in St. Louis with Matt LaFleur with a not so good St. Louis Rams team before they moved to LA. He
Right.
was on the Lions that went 0-16. And as you've heard me on the pod before, I don't think you should ever be a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, head coach if you were part of an 0-16 team on the coaching staff. Obviously, it didn't go very well. So
Right.
it was very controversial, and rightly so because
Right.
he just didn't deliver. He had the best quarterback in the league, and he had to be somewhat average, and he was barely average. I mean, this year he got the top 10 scoring defense, but that schedule was favorable.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know who the names they're going to bring. Some people have already been naming like ideas, but I don't know who's going to be part of the process of what is going to be the panel for the interview. Is it going to be just Matt LaFleur or is it going to be all three? Because Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst worked together to get Matt LaFleur, and usually you let the head coach hire who they want, but that first hire was not good. So it'll be
Right.
an interesting offseason. It'll be definitely interesting, and I just it's big. It's a very important hire because this one didn't work, and
No, absolutely.
it didn't fail miserably, but it was a very big failure. It wasn't it wasn't a miserable fail, but it was a very big failure. Like you, if no if ands buts about it, but it could have been worse,
Right.
but it was bad. So big hire here.
No, it's a huge hire. And it goes to show really we were 9-8, so it was a 50-50, right? With him when he was
Yeah,
doing it wasn't up to par of what we needed to now move forward, into this next season. I'm totally with you on that. That defensive coordinator position is a huge hire for the Green Bay Packers and really should be the vocal point of them moving into that next season. You had touched on it earlier already, just kind of retracking. Aaron Jones, I think we signed him to whatever. I think he's proven that he's even
he's
though it's
still
been
under
health
contract. He'll be
issues,
back. It might be a
well,
restructure to give him some cap space,
restructure, but
but
make him feel comfortable because he deserves it after what he did in this postseason, in
yep.
my eyes, to be honest.
hmm
And then
Absolutely.
obviously get Jordan and realistically, it goes Jordan Love and then him. But basically, what I'm trying to get at, those two we need to go ahead and get squared away because Jordan Love's already proven to me
Yes.
clearly that he can go ahead and be one of those guys for a very long time for the Packers and definitely go ahead
Yes.
and win us a Super Bowl at some point in time and win some MVPs. So
Yep.
um,
He's gonna get
I'm
money.
I'm
He's gonna get
he's gonna.
back
Do you
up the
think they're
Brinks.
gonna
Just
throw?
bring it over here. Right
Do you
there.
think?
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Do you think he's gonna be the highest paid?
No, no. I don't think it'll
What do
be
you think?
highest
What do you
paid.
think? What do you think Green Bay is gonna go ahead and offer, or what do you think is gonna look like the picture of what you
If
think they're
you
gonna go ahead and
remember
go for him?
I think it was 6 to 8 games in of Aaron Rodgers' first year. Green Bay gave it Aaron Rodgers an extension that made him a top five QB, paid QB, and that wasn't even before, and that was
Mm-hmm.
before the second contract that put him in Green Bay for most of his 30s, and then there's this last contract. I think he's going to be top five money, so you're looking at 35, 40 million a year. But I
Yeah.
think they're going to be smart about it in the sense of I think it's going to be about 5 years. It's all about the guaranteed money, obviously.
Right.
I don't know how they're going to work his contract to make it backloaded, to make it front loaded. Like you can shift those numbers around. I don't know what his team bonus is going to be like. There's so much involved in that. But I think it's probably going to be about 5 years. I think in the range of 40, 45 million a year. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Pat Mahomes is making 40 million a year, but that's a 10-year deal. Maybe Green Bay
Right.
goes 10 years. Maybe if they give him, hey, we'll give you 7 to 8, but we're going to lower our yearly value just to get some longevity and some more guaranteed money. I don't know, but I think he's going to be at least top five. And I don't know what the top five quarterbacks are getting paid right now. I know Mahomes is probably number one, but I think it's going to be in that 40 million a year range. Because that's just the price. Like that's just the price of quarterbacks nowadays. Quarterback's the most
Right.
important position, and that's why you give them the most money. So I don't know what they're going to do. I think it's probably going to be around 40 million a year, 35, 40 million a year. Who knows? Maybe they'll give him 45. Who knows? But they got to lock him down. So I think top five money is going to be the thing. But I think it's going to be about I think 5 years. Who knows? It could be 3 because he's locked for next year too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think they're gonna after what they've seen, they know he's the guy, so they might throw him a Pat Mahomes deal, 10 years, whatever, 400 million. I don't know, like,
Right.
but they might try to lock to keep it cheaper. They might throw more years at him because that's what players want. They just want some longevity. But who knows? But I think it's probably 40 million. I'd say 40 million, 45 million a year, probably. If it's anything under 35, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. No, I would be too. I think he's definitely gonna
Because
get a bag and be one of those top
I
guys.
mean, Daniel Jones. I mean, look at that contract. If they're throwing money at that type of dude, Jordan Love's better than Daniel Jones since week 4, and then Daniel Jones has been his entire career. So if I was Jordan Love, I'd
Literally.
be like, you see that guy over there? That guy is
Right.
throwing left-handed football, throwing footballs left-handed and looking stupid and getting tripped up by the turf monster. I made playoffs and making the divisional round in my first year. I think I deserve a little bit more than that guy over there. So,
Absolutely.
uh, but yeah, it's not gonna be cheap. It ain't gonna be cheap. Back up the Brinks, right over there. Put it in the driveway. We'll shovel it. It's fine.
I'll
So
shovel it for him. I'll shovel it
yeah,
for him, to be
absolutely,
honest. But no, just
absolutely.
all in all, obviously it was a great season. If you were a Packers fans, you saw the resilience, the team coming together, coaches as well, people looking themselves in the
Yep,
mirror and being, hey, we got to
yep.
figure this shit out. And that's what I loved
It's
about this season.
yeah.
And if we're Packer fans moving forward, we have a lot to be happy about.
It's it's a very good thing from the general manager's office down, from the front office down. You saw obviously the front office took a chance on Jordan Love. It's worked.
Yep.
Matt LaFleur, 8 games in, he was very critical in his press conferences of Jordan Love. Turned it around. I think everybody knew, like Jordan Love knew that he wasn't playing well. Matt LaFleur knew he wasn't playing well, and they turned it around. So and then the players as well. But the same could be said for that defense, man. Like in the terms of why they weren't good enough. It's
Right.
not just Joe Barry's fault. Like we all are pointing the blame, like, hey, you suck. But let's look who's drafting those players.
Yeah.
That's a Brian Gutekunst thing. We had, I mean, this number is a little skewed. We had 8 first rounders on that defense. One of them is Eric Stokes, who's probably not going to be on the team at all. The other one's Jair Alexander, who missed 9 games for injury, 1 game suspension. One of them's Darnell Savage, who missed, I think he missed like six to 8 games, somewhere along those lines. Quay
Hmm.
Walker, which I think Quay Walker has been okay. Like, I think he's had to cover up a lot more mistakes because of the scheme. So maybe that one is a little bit undecided yet. Rashawn Gary, and I'm going to be a little critical on him because although he influences the play a lot more or influences the the game and more and like with his play, look at his results. A half a sack in the last 8 games.
Hmm.
This is a results driven league. I understand you may be getting pressure on the quarterback every now and again. You had a half a sack, and we just paid you as one of the top 5 pass rushers in the league. Like,
Right.
get it going. Like, that's not saying Rashawn Gary's bust, but it's a results driven league. And when you look at a half a sack for the last 8 games from the San Francisco game back, not good. Like, we need
Right.
that. Um, their decision to hold on to Preston Smith. I mean, I knew that was a position that was weak. Lucas Van Ness, that one's not. I mean, I don't look at that one as a failure because this is his first year.
Right.
Rashawn Gary didn't play that much his first year. So it's just that one's a work in progress. Devontae Wyatt, not he's they're one of the worst rush defenses in the league. So I mean, kind of put that on him. He didn't come into the league as a run stuffer, but you got to play the position. So there is a lot of and there's just a lot of things. And then they got rid of their best at the time, their best playing defensive player in Rasul Douglas. Which did that work out? Uh, I don't know. Like it could have gone either way. It probably would have been nice to have Rasul and Jair on each side because you looked at teams that were going after Valentine more than were Jair. But I mean, I think that was a really good trade because I think you're going to have to pay. Rasul Douglas has 1 more year left, and he's a very good corner. He's going to be looking for some money because he's kind of coming. I think he's around 28, 29. So corners, if you're really good, can last long. But I mean, he's probably going to be looking for one more payday. Um, so when I say it's bittersweet, because on the offensive side, it's sweet from top down. From the defensive side, not so sweet on the top down. And that's where my biggest question marks lies, where who we keep on the defensive side and who don't we keep. it already kind of sounds like there's rumors that Devondre Campbell's out. And I agree with that 1,000%. That guy just hasn't been cutting the mustard. Like, there's that whole issue after one of the games that there's a whole issue after one of the game about him tweeting shit, and then he had to go Matt LaFleur. You know, it's just I think they caught lightning in a bottle for one season. He was all pro. It happens. You pay the all pro, and it just doesn't work out. And then you find out what he really had. It happens. So, and then Darnell Savage, man, I don't know. Like, yeah, he had that big pick six in Dallas, but then he also dropped the pick six Saturday. So I don't know, man. Like this could be very interesting offseason defensively, and I think Green Bay could be getting younger yet because I think they're going to replace all of that through the draft. So I don't know, man. Like, and with their cap a little bit still cap hell, it's going to be quite interesting. So Green Bay Packers may be getting younger after all after the season on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's the season. That's the 2023-2024 season. And,
give them a solid A.
Solid A.
If we're giving letter grades, solid A.
Solid A.
We did not expect to be. If you would have told me, hey, by January, what was it, 14th? January 15th, whatever the date was, 15th, yeah. The 20th or whatever. Hey, you're going to be playing San Francisco down to the wire in the NFC divisional round to go to the NFC Championship game. I would have been like, you're high. Like, you're hilarious. Yeah, like, very funny. Great joke. Like, we all said 9-8, which, I mean, I said 9-8. I think you were in agreement with me at 9-8. And I thought that would have been a pretty successful season. I didn't think 9-8 would entail a playoff win on the road and then a nail biter on the road at the number 1 seed.
Man.
Hey, A+. Go. Now you just got to build on it because they have 3 years now. You have 3 years where you're not going to pay any wide receivers or tight ends. You're not going to have to pay the offensive line.
All right.
And then you're going to be younger on the defensive side as well. So 3 years. And I think they might get aggressive here in this 3 years. I hope. But we thought they were going to get aggressive with Aaron Rodgers all those years, and they just did not. So, yep. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun off season. We got a defensive coordinator hire, and then we got the draft, which the draft is always the draft. So, but absolutely. We got some other man. When it rains news in Wisconsin, it pours, man. Because I went to bed last night with like 3 different things, and I woke up this morning with like 2 more things. I was like, what is going on here? Like, oh my goodness.
Right, and that's why we do what we're doing this and handling for our Wisconsin.
Absolutely, we got to talk about it.
Let's move on to the NBA, right? All news with firing, obviously, Griffin mid-season, not even before the All-Star game. We go ahead and get Doc Rivers. Holy cow. You want to talk about a guy that knows how to handle superstars? He was obviously with the 76ers. Joel Embiid obviously handled that with James Harden coming in. He had Sam Cassell on his assistant coach at some point in time when he was with the 76ers. Would love for him to come back to Milwaukee. If y'all don't know Sam Cassell, he played for the Bucks back in the day. But this is just a great hire for Milwaukee. They're going to be paying a lot of guys from the head coaching. They got like 3 guys on payroll. They got Buddy, they got Griffin, and now they got him. They got 3 guys. I don't know about the management there, but hey, I like the move of getting Doc Rivers. Talk to me about this and what do you think it is for this obviously Bucks team, because we are heading second half of the kind of this season before playoffs. Before the goddamn, what is it called? All-Star weekend. We have a tough schedule. And then after that, it gets even tougher. So what are you thinking just with this move, how this is going to impact the Bucks?
So when I heard this, it didn't surprise me. I looked at, again, we're gonna put this back in play. About a month ago, I let all y'all know I don't know ball. Like, you want to talk to me about X's and O's of basketball?
Not the guy.
But you can look into the people side of it. And when you look into the people side of it, you look at the frame of work. I mean, they were the fourth worst defense in the league. Compared to the year prior, they were one of the better defensive teams in the league. So, and what changed? A little bit changed. I mean, you got rid of Drew Holiday, which is, in my opinion, the best guard defender in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Crowder's been hurt, which is one of the better. I mean, I guess you could say it, but he's a really good forward defender. He's probably your main defender guy. He's a 3-and-D guy. And then you got Brook Lopez, which is one of the better ridden guarders in the NBA. Giannis, who's won defensive MVP. Dame doesn't really, you don't know him for his defense. You bring him in for his shot making. Chris Middleton has had to guard guys, but he's getting older, and you're not going to put him on the number one, or you're not going to put him on their best offensive player. When I thought maybe we should start looking into coaching changes is not only when I saw the fourth worst defense of the league, is when in the in-season tournament against the Pacers are just running up and down the floor on this Milwaukee Bucks team, and I know the Pacers are really, really good, and they're really, really young, and they have them running legs, and they just ran Milwaukee up and down the floor 94 feet, and Milwaukee looked like they just couldn't keep up. It made it a game, but they couldn't keep up. And then Milwaukee started doing some really, in my opinion, stupid shit. Again, I don't know ball, but I know that well enough for this. When they started running a 2-3 zone in the NBA, bro,
that's a problem, bro.
You're joking, right? Like, hey, what beats zone defense? Shooting. What's there a lot of in the NBA? A lot of shooting. So when I saw that, I'm like, dude, this guy is scrambling. Like
right.
But this isn't like an Adrian. This again, like when we talk about Green Bay, this isn't just the coordinator's fault or the coach's fault. This like goes up there. The GM for the Bucks came out and said, we hired Griffin anticipating not challenging for a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me?
Hello.
You what? Now I understand you hired Griffin before the Dame trade. But so that kind of tells me that they weren't in on getting Dame, but they just kind of maybe made a call, said, hey, we'll give you this, this, and that. Well, that sounds good. And then they tweaked it, and then Dame's in Milwaukee Bucks. But either way, this is kind of a malpractice on not only the front office, this is a Giannis thing too, because they don't hire Griffin without Giannis's approval. So I guarantee they didn't fire Griff without at least talking to 2 of 4 people. And those 2 people they probably talked to was Dame and Giannis. Maybe they talked to Chris Middleton, maybe they talked to Brook Lopez. But I sure know that John Horst called Giannis and Dame and said, I think we're looking for a move. And I don't think you make that move without at least notifying them. And if it was a problem with Giannis, it would have been a problem. Like maybe it doesn't happen right away, or it's going to have to be a thing where the front office just goes over your superstar's head. So the body of work wasn't there. And so, as you said, Doc Rivers, really good manager of superstars. He's done it. I'm not a Doc Rivers fan, to be totally honest with you, but vet experience goes a long way. Absolutely. And that's what Doc Rivers has. He has vet experience. Adrian Griffin was simply put in over his head. This was too big of a job, too big of stars, too big of a team to come in here. And they're 30-13. It's not like we're sitting like 5 games above 500.
Right.
But you looked at the team going, and I was just like, we're not gonna make it to the NBA Finals with this type of mentality, this type of coaching. Somebody asked me how big is an NBA coach, though. Kind of big. Like, you have that guy. I understand, like, the players play. The players are smart enough out there to run a system, see what they see. They can break it down on the floor. But the defense is what the coach runs. Like, what your team's defense does is strictly what the coach wants. And he makes the personnel decisions. He makes who gets subbed in, who's coming on and off the floor, just coming down to the wire decisions. NBA coach is huge. Adrian Griffin wasn't that guy. And this reflects, so that's when I say, if this Doc thing doesn't work out, let's just say it doesn't work out. They're not going to go to Giannis all out like they did for Griffin anymore, because this wasn't a capital L for Giannis. This is a lowercase L. It's still an L. It's not a capital one because they're 30-13 or 31-13. But this is a lowercase L. This didn't work, and this was Giannis's guy. Like, this is the guy that Giannis gave his stamp of approval. So I think that also comes into effect if this Doc thing doesn't work out, which it could. We have to see. But Doc knows how to handle big stars. He knows how to play in some big games. Vet experience, I think, will do this Bucks team well. So I was not shocked that they fired Griffin. I was shocked after the fact of hearing what happened, like all the inside stuff. After hearing a GM say, well, we weren't challenging for a championship. We made that hire for longevity when you have one of the best players in basketball. Like, bro.
It makes no sense.
And you have a team that is made up with mostly I say, not fully, but mostly the core of what you won an NBA championship with. So it was baffling. It was just baffling to me, but I think at 31-13, you could still correct this course. There's a lot of basketball left. You got till April to figure this stuff out. So they play the Cavaliers tonight, and they're introducing Doc as their new head coach during that game. We'll see. I mean, he's already in Milwaukee. Like, he's out. So this also is kind of funny. That's also kind of funny just for the sake of he was going to be the NBA Finals guy. As in, ESPN cleared house with Mike Green, Jeff Van Gundy. They cleared all those guys out. And then they brought in new people, and Doc Rivers was one of those people, and he's just like, I'm going to go coach the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll see you later. All right, peace.
Right. But I figured he was going to go ahead and get a head coaching job anyways. You know how that is. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing.
He would. But it's his home. Milwaukee's his home, so it's no surprise. But again, we'll see. Again, I don't know about, but I think a vet experienced coach with this type of a team would do well, and I think guys will respond to Doc as well, because, I mean, he was the original coach, or he was the coach of the original Big Three. But, I mean, we've seen teams with big teams blow up in his face, but I think he's had some pretty interesting. I think he's probably handled some of the harder superstars in the NBA when it comes to Harden,
100%.
when it comes to Embiid, with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Like, he's handled some beauties. I don't think these Bucks superstars are anything like those four players. They're a little bit more blue collar. Maybe Dame's the other one, but he doesn't make any rumblings. But Milwaukee's they're a blue collar team, and I think that's what Doc likes to work with, is just blue collar teams that just want to work hard and win. So we'll see. I'm excited for it. Nice. I'm excited for it, and I'm not a Doc guy.
I'm ready for it. I think it's going to be good because those guys are going to respect what he's saying and talking because of his veterancy, being in the NBA for so long, winning championships. So excited for the Bucks. They do play tonight. But let's move on and keep talking about more sports here. Obviously, Milwaukee Brewers picked up first baseman. What do you feel about that? 1 year. I know. Talk to me about it.
Love this pickup.
And this is by far, this is James's best probably sequence because this boy loves him some Brewers.
This guy, if you look up this guy's postseason from last year with the Phillies, he had some of the most electric moments next to Bryce Harper in the postseason. This guy hits bombs, and they only have him to a 2-year deal, but in Milwaukee is a launch pad. This guy is probably going to be one of the best first basemen. I'm calling it now. Will be the best first baseman signing since Prince Fielder.
I'm about to look up right now what he did last year.
Look up Milwaukee's first baseman since Prince Fielder left. Like, Prince was Prince, man. Like Prince is
Right.
probably one of the best first basemen to ever play for the Milwaukee Brewers. But like if you look at it, we've had like makeshift first basemen. We've had some guys that had some decent years, some veteran guys, and none of them have stuck. I mean, Carlos Santana last year came in through a trade of the Brewers. He wasn't doing so hot with the Pirates, and he came in and he was really good with the Brewers. But
Uh-huh.
this dude is different. This is a different dude. He's young, and he
So
is.
hold
I
on,
mean,
before you keep going. So I have it pulled up
yes,
here. Never mind. Keep going. I got to find the real stats. Keep going.
this is just a really because this guy can. I mean, again, this guy hits bombs. Defense doesn't really matter in baseball, but the Brewers are trying to make it matter.
Uh-huh.
I don't think the Brewers are going to be any. I heard somebody say that they don't think the Brewers are going to win 82 games this year. I don't know. I think I might be on that bandwagon, dude. Like, if you look at this pitching staff, they lost
Mm-hmm.
Woodruff. Burns is probably going to get traded at deadline. That means Freddie Peralta's your one, and Eric Lauer is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like this team is a little depleted. They have a lot of great young offensive talent, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean the numbers say it. But if you watch them in the postseason, it looked like they were not very good offensively. So most of these guys, it was their first year up in the majors. So we'll see what year two brings. I think the ceiling for them is very high, but we'll see. I think Willie Adames might get traded, their star shortstop, because he's a star shortstop. There's not many star shortstops that can hit in the league, and he's one of them. So
Right.
he can play defense and he can hit. Usually, shortstop's just more of a defensive position, but the dude can do both. So I think he's probably a top 5 shortstop in the league, and he can hit. So there's going to be teams calling about him. So the Brewers are basically looking to probably rebuild, and it's the first year with a new manager. It's probably going to be an up and down year. Um, Hopefully it works out, but with more playoff spots in baseball now, there's a lot more playoff spots. If they win and they're hot, I mean, anything can happen in baseball. I mean, baseball is one of the more interesting games out there. So, but this is a really good signing. It's only for 2 years and 34 million, so he's getting 17 million a year, which is pretty pricey for the Milwaukee Brewers. I saw that, I was like, okay, we're opening up the pocketbooks a little bit for that guy, and he can opt
Mm-hmm.
out after one. So who knows? Maybe he'll play one, have a really good year, and Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, whoever, Phillies, one of the bigger market teams comes in and says, hey, we'll give you 25 million. Peace. See it. So, I mean, but if not, he's got another 17 million after that. So we'll see. If it doesn't go well, he's not staying. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be looking for everyday playing time, and I think that's because the Phillies are thinking about moving Harper to first.
Mm-hmm.
So if Bryce Harper's anywhere, you're probably not playing. So I think that's why he made this move. He got a good payday, um, and he's going to be an everyday first baseman. He's going to probably play 150 games.
Oh, he's
So
for sure going to play 150 games.
he's going to play 150 games. So he's just playing for a bigger contract. But if he doesn't get that bigger contract after year one, he's still got a pretty decent sized contract with Milwaukee. So who
Right.
knows? But I really like this signing. I mean, this guy's electric. I mean, he's an energy dude. If he hits a bomb, he is electric. So
Love it.
we'll
Love
see.
to hear that.
But honestly, look up his playoff highlights last year with the
I'm about
Phillies.
to.
Dude was hitting nukes in the playoffs and making stadiums erupt. It was awesome.
Love it.
So I was
Love it.
really stoked about this signing.
Love it. Well, my good people, hope you guys are having a good week. Obviously, when you come tune in here, we talk about our sports teams. To add on just quick before we go out here, we got Wisconsin and Marquette, 13 and 14. Wisconsin hoops is hooping right now.
Hoo-wee!
Shit.
Oh yeah.
Last night I was at the game here with the Gophers when they faced
I was wondering if you were.
59. Unreal game. We can talk
Dude,
about it all day, but obviously get these people out of here.
yes.
The bigs for Wisconsin, very nice.
Bro, how did Wisconsin get AJ Storr?
That guy's
That
crazy.
that guy is one of the
He's
most
crazy.
athletic dudes I have seen through a Wisconsin basketball program. Like
Yeah.
he's from IMG Academy, and I know IMG Academy. Those guys don't go to Wisconsin. They go Kentucky, they go to Kansas, they go to Duke, they go to North Carolina, and then there's this. I mean, I think he's from Illinois. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's either Minnesota or Illinois. He's a Midwest kid, so maybe you want to be a little closer to home. But I see this guy play, and I'm like, what is this? I'm like, where do we find this guy? Like, is everybody living under a rock? So, man, that dude's
I was like
athletic.
that,
And
bro,
then,
sitting there watching. I was exactly like that. I'm like, bro, this is a long stretch what I'm about to say, but like body built wise, he was built like Anthony Edwards. Like he
oh
was
yeah,
like his presence, like he had a double. The man
hmm
had 12 points and 15 rebounds. Like, and they were all
dude's
athletic as
ridiculous.
hell. I'm like, this man is crazy. But
And that's what wins you NCAA tournaments. Good defense and guard play. That's
that's
the ticket for winning an NCAA tournament or a Final Four appearance. Is you play defense, which we all know Wisconsin plays D, and guard play. And I think Wisconsin's
absolutely.
got some really good guards. So, and AJ Storr, I don't think he may not be a guard, he might be a three, but he can play like a guard. Like he's just so athletic. I was sitting there, I mean, at the beginning of the year seeing this kid, I'm like, dude, this guy's like, and then last week watching Penn State, Chucky Hepburn stole the ball, and I see him running down court, and Hepburn's at the halfway line, and he just goes, and I'm like, no, no, you are not. And Hepburn put it there, and he posterized the dude. I'm like, who is that? I'm like, what? I'm like, I haven't seen that play at Wisconsin in 10 years. It's been a
Literally.
while, but man, Wisconsin's got something cooking right now, and they play in
They
a
do.
really good conference. I mean, the Big Ten I think is probably the second to best conference in college basketball. So
Absolutely.
it's a fun year, man. And Marquette, I don't like Marquette, you know this, but Marquette, you can't deny they got some athletes on the floor too. I mean, I think
Absolutely.
shout out to our buddy Andrew Wood. Every year I tell him Marquette is overrated, and then Wisconsin, when Marquette came into Wisconsin and beat them, and I just have to be like, hey, they're overrated, but they're good. They're a good team. Like they are a good team. I'm not going
Yeah.
to deny
Yeah.
it, but I just like to ruffle Marquette fans' feathers because I've
Absolutely.
never been a Marquette guy, but they're legit too. That they have a possibility to make an Elite Eight, Final Four if they're playing good basketball too.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and take
Absolutely.
you guys out. You guys have a great Wednesday. My man James has our song already loaded up.
It's gonna be okay, people. Like it's okay. I know the Packers lost. It's okay. We're, everything's gonna be all right. We got the future in front of us, and it's gonna be okay. But it's gonna be all right.
This
Exactly.
guy's crazy. You guys have a great week. We'll see you guys on Friday with me and T Lip. Peace out, y'all.